Chicago, Brooklyn, let your fro show. Jared Allen throwing it out.
Power.
There is power in that.
Yes,
it
is.
Power dunks.
You stay in the lane, you do what you do, and they share, and then when in doubt, you come rotate, you say, get that shot out of here.
Becoming one of the elite shot blockers in the league. 19 points, 6 rebounds, and those 2 blocks for Jared Allen.
I love it.
That opened the court for these 2 guys. D'Angelo Russell finding Damari Carroll, who finds Russell back.
Yeah, but how about that Brooklyn bench? 52-29 advantage.
Absolutely. Carroll adding to that. 20 points in the game. It's still kind of a close one. And then when it's closing time, Shabazz Napier, he's got game for that.
Yes, he does.
18 points, but leading the way, a guy you've seen already, D'Angelo Russell, the lefty.
I think he's maybe starting to figure it out, Coach.
Well, he started to figure it out when Dinwiddie came off the bench and was playing as well as Dinwiddie was playing. He said, I better get my act going.
There you go.
You see the 28, that's an average night for Russell recently. Last 4 games, averaging 27 a night. Orlando and the LA Clippers. When pushing the rock, you find that guy, Aaron Gordon. I mean, he's in movies for his ability to dunk, right?
Well, you got to play good half-court defense, get out and run, and DJ, that's pretty smart of you.
Yeah, well, maybe when you're that close to the rim, the shot will go down, but that's not the case for Orlando. They were horrendous shooting the basketball.
Well, these high percentage shots, I guess we're seeing all their makes are.
Was the big-time block by Obama. Get that shot out of here.
Clippers down by 8, but cool, calm, collected. That's how you describe Tobias Harris. That's how you describe Danilo Gallinari.
Doc Rivers has done a pretty good job with those 2 forwards, playing one of them as a center sometime during the course of the game.
19-4, Clippers run.
Point
Then
center.
Aaron Gordon.
Point center, Vucevic with the perfect pass.
That's how you get some energy back into your team if you're Orlando. But in the second half, that energy gone. Tobias taking the air out of the balloon. Then Montrezl Harrell.
Energy on top of energy on top of energy.
Get low to get high.
The 4 blue jerseys sitting there, watch Harold go up and finish it off with 2 hands.
Love watching him play.
Ahead by 9, it's a luxury to have a guy like Lou Will. Keep the foot on the gas. 15-point lead turns to a 17-point lead. Clippers roll easily, 106-96, led by Tobias Harris with a game-high 28. Miami and Atlanta, and the Hawks, they can take flight. Dwayne Wade, though, when he makes a pass like this, might be play of the year.
Oh!
Derrick Jones.
Man.
It's a luxury to have a guy like that. Also, Vince Carter. 3D, is he older than you?
No,
Think so.
almost. He's only about 48. He's still getting it done, though.
Vince and Jeremy Lin coming off the bench killed Miami.
Hawks scored 41 points in the third quarter. Trae Young finding his range in rhythm, 3 for 3 from three-point range, 19 points for Trae.
How about Miami cannot beat the Atlanta Hawks? Hawks 3-0 versus Miami.
And Miami came into this one hot. They had won 8 of their last 10.
Playing well.
But as you see, this was all Hawks all the time. Lynn, 11 points in the final 3 minutes of that third quarter, and then Vince Carter finishing out the game. Oh, how about that? Dwayne Wade still making his farewell tour and exchanging jerseys. Trae Young's going to appreciate that.
Yep, he'll show it to the family back in the day. He said, the Hall of Famer D. Wade gave me some time.
Young, a lottery pick in this year's draft, but how about the top pick, DeAndre Ayton? Get out of his way.
Ooh.
Did Charlotte get the win, though?
He's been in the weight room.
Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns, 28 points in each of his last 7 games, but breaking news from Minnesota. Tom Thibodeau has been fired as the head coach. This, according to Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania, both Yahoo and ESPN reporting that Tom Thibodeau is out as the head coach the Minnesota Timberwolves.
And president too, right? I mean, he was the president too, coach. So when you get fired, you lose both of those jobs, right?
I think you lose both of them.
Yeah, I don't think you fire the coach and not fire the president, right? Because he was the president making the decisions for the coach.
Well,
Right time for that?
That could happen. You could fire somebody as a coach and keep him in the front office.
Right, okay.
Okay, like Urban Meyer leaves Ohio State, but he's going to be around. Some
President and coach, he's out as both.
Yeah, as both.
So
That's
3D,
official. Okay. Ooh.
Looking at the situation in Minnesota, why now?
Well, I guess, Glenn Taylor is the owner who sat down with his group and said, doesn't like the way things are going. The Jimmy Butler situation wasn't great. If you go back and look, and people say the Houston trade was probably better because there was more, picks there. So maybe they sit down and said, let's pull the trigger now before the All-Star break, before the trade deadline, if there's more moves to be made, Coach.
I look at it as because of their last stretch of 8 games, 5-3, brings them back into the playoff race. They're 2 games out of that 8th spot in the Western Conference. And you just got done saying how great Karl-Anthony Towns has been playing. Karl-Anthony Towns has a direct line to the owner of the team. That's how his contract got done over again. That wasn't a president making that move. That was the owner saying that. So maybe Karl-Anthony Towns knows more than we do about what was going on in that situation. Perhaps that's the reason why we see a rejuvenated Karl-Anthony Towns over the last 8 games. That's just speculation.
Well, again, this is reported right now. This is not official from the Minnesota Timberwolves, but if this is the case, you still have a team fighting for a playoff spot. What do they do now? How hard is it to find a head coach in the middle of a season?
I doubt that you make a move like that without knowing what direction you're heading in before.
Right.
Is it someone that's sitting out? And there are a number of recent head coaches that were fired that are sitting around, okay, that they might turn to. Or is there somebody within the organization that they have tremendous confidence in, that the players have shown the backing for that person, and that's who you turn to try and finish out, just like happened as Tyronn Lue took over in Cleveland and wound up finishing that season and was given the job full-time after that.
Yeah, in most cases, Chris, you stay within because one of those, if not all of those assistants collectively can continue to preach the system versus bringing a brand new coach in now and trying to, like to your point, last 8 games, Catman is rolling, so for a brand new coach to come in, now he has to either know the system they've been playing to kind of keep things going that way, or to your point, Coach, you're going to the top assistant you have in there. Maybe think Ed Pinckney, I think, is their top assistant right now.
I was just going to say.
He's been around a long time, and maybe it's an opportunity.
Ed Pinckney's been around a long time, has talked to a number of teams about possibly becoming their head coach. He's been by Thibodeau's side for a long, long time, and he's kind of been the go-between between players and coaching staff. Why not give him a chance? If
I think he deserves
it.
I think he deserves it. So it's be interesting.
So apparently Ryan Saunders is reportedly going to fill in on an interim basis as the coach there in Minnesota. So when you hear that name, what's the first thing you think about, Coach?
Think of his father, Flip.
Yep.
Okay? This young man grew up in a basketball household, and everyone who has worked with him has nothing but really good things to say about Ryan. So if that's the direction they're going in, he's going to work. He knows the game of basketball, and he obviously must be able to relate to the players because of the positions they've put him in within the organization. So if he's getting that shot, you wish him well, and we'll see the job he can do.
Ryan's been around from day one, to your point, Coach, as a kid. The one short year I was there, he's always been one of those kind of kids that's related to the players. He's been with the organization. He knows where as they say, where all the bodies are buried, so to speak. So I think he can fit in right away. And I think Cat and Wiggs and all those young guys that are there now, I think they would accept it as well.
More on this situation as it progresses. So we see Tom Thibodeau reportedly out as the head coach there in Minnesota. And also, popular players in the world hadn't been matched in years. In this episode of Storytime with Shaq, Bro Parrish talks to Diesel about that game and his relationship with Yao throughout their careers.
Tonight, the Rockets doing battle with the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's not just a game, it's a happening. I'm telling you folks, everybody who is anybody in the Houston area or in Texas is here tonight to see this battle. It's the first matchup ever between Yao Ming and Shaquille O'Neal.
What do you remember when you're first stepping in the circle with Yao Ming the first time you two played each other?
Knew nothing about him. Knew he was 7'5", 7'8", so we got to Houston, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming, Yao Ming. Yeah, I'm like, okay, they trying to do like Rocky IV, Apollo Creed, all this and that. They want to give him the fanfare. So I said, okay. So, I wanted to give him a little finesse. I wanted to show him I was smooth. So I get on the post, and I go right there. He blocks it. Crowd go crazy. Well, you got that one. You 7'8", you're supposed to block it. Get another move. He blocks it. Third time he blocks it. Now I'm mad. Now I got to go in the playoff mode. Now I got to turn the power, turn it all the way up. It's the first time I got my shot blocked 3 times in a row. But what gave me the super confidence is, hey, you done killed Patrick Ewing. You done killed David Robinson. You neck and neck with your favorite player, Akeem Olajuwon. He's a young kid. Turn it up. Go into that mode. But it was definitely a fun battle between me and him. Definitely respect him. Definitely respect his culture. I go to China 5-6 times a year. Whenever I'm in Shanghai, we always have tea. We always have great conversation. I just wish that he didn't have those injuries that he had. I would have loved to have more battles with him. He's probably the only guy that really tested me. And he tested me because he was 7'8", and he was hard to move. He couldn't stop me, but guess what? I couldn't stop him either. I put him in the category of Akeem. Like, hey, Akeem, you can't stop me, but I know I can't stop that fadeaway. And he was the only guy that would catch it in the post and look at me. He just looked like, y'all just look at me, and then I'd come and try to block, and he just shoot right over me. Whoop. I'd be like, damn. But the funny thing, the first couple of times, I'm China, language barrier, I never knew he spoke English. So one day I hit him with a nice bing bang on the baseline. Ha ha! Shot the boom. He's like, nice move, brother. And I was like, you talk English? He's like, yeah, I'm talking. I was like, why you didn't tell me? He said, Shaq, you never talked to me. I was like, man. So after that moment, like, we, really became close.
Shaq, every game we played remind me of the old saying that what doesn't kill you make you stronger. Thank you for that.
And I was honored to be on the same stage as him during Hall of Fame weekend. When you talk about the history of basketball, long after we're gone, hopefully this conversation will still be around when East meets West.
Cool moment during that Hall of Fame ceremony. You actually got to put the jacket on him. He was struggling. What happened exactly when he was trying to put on his jacket?
Well, he's a big dude, and when you get really big and you get older, you start to get stiff like a tree. So I'm sure his shoulders are kind of banged up a little bit. So I said, let me help you out, brother. But he's the only dude that makes me feel small. They say he's 7'6", but he's like my favorite convenience store. He's 7-Eleven all day. He's 7-Eleven.
Talk about his impact globally just on the game of basketball.
He's done a lot for China. He's done a lot for the game of international basketball. And, I don't think there's anybody bigger or better that could have done the job. When I go to China, everybody mentions Yao Ming. It's like a god over there.
It's incredible to see a guy half a foot taller than Shaq. Brendan, you played against Yao as well. What was it like? You're a 7-footer. The first time you step on a court with a guy half a foot taller than you when you're used to being half a foot taller than everybody else.
It was incredibly different for me because I'm used to being taller than everybody else, or at least being eye level. And with Yao Ming, it was something different. He was so tall. He had a height advantage. And something that was weird to me was I literally could not see the ball coming up the court when I was behind him. So like guys would be like, why didn't you call it the scrim? Like, I couldn't see you. I really couldn't see him. And so Yao presented a lot of challenges, especially trying to guard him. He had some very good moves. He had counters. He had spins. He had some step backs. Did I make that? Okay, I got a couple of highlights off on Yao, but for the most part, it was very hard for me to guard Yao Ming because he really didn't have to jump much, and he kept the ball high. If you really watch Yao in his highlights, he just has that ball, and he's moving it here, and you respond to his fake so much because he keeps the ball high. He's incredibly tall. He was very skilled, and he had a lot of stuff in his game, and Jeff Van Gundy did an excellent job of what I would call using weak side duck-in, something that we don't use nowadays in the game of basketball, where they would run a screen and roll on this side of the court with Tracy McGrady, and I would have to respond and come off of Yao's body, and then he would just duck in that lane and get big and catch the ball, and there was nothing I could do a lot of times. Playing against Yao was very challenging.
Griff, when you look at someone like Yao Ming, you think of his career, and it was a great career, but cut short due to injuries. How great could he have been if he would have stayed healthy?
Yeah, and I think about how good that Houston Rockets team could have been. They had the 07 team, I think, won 22 games in a row with T-Mac and Yao. And both of those guys had really significant injuries. I think that year only one of them was able to play even 60 games. I think Yao played 66 maybe. T-Mac may have played like 55. But they weren't ever able to stay on the court together. But when they did, they were so truly elite. We were really robbed of seeing the best of that team as well. The other thing that really stands out to me is when the legend of Yao was being told by Shaq, Yao will have been 8'3". He started at 7'6", and he called him 7'11" by the end.
That is pretty funny. I mean, I guess for Shaq, he's not used to looking up, so then he just adds inches to that, right? Well, that's a former Rocket great. The ascension up the MVP ladder for current Rocket. We'll tell you who's moving on up. I think you know who it is. That's up next.